So hi, Look Noise Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with,
Mikaila from yours truly.
and we're asking some questions today about the upcoming album Toxic. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Really good. I think that it's been a couple of years since we put out new music, so it was just nice to know people still care.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
it's been cool to see the growth since the last time we spoke. In the States, everywhere. I mean, the last time we spoke was right before you guys got announced on that massive I Prevail and Pierce the Veil tour. So things have been seeming on the up and up, at least from the outside. This record is fantastic.
Incredible.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Of course.
Perfect blend of what I loved about the EP, which was that darker side of things, but also, reminiscent of the older sound. So, big fan of this.
Oh, thanks. That's exactly what I wanted to do, so thank you.
That's good. It came through.
Okay.
Good, I'm glad.
So, is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
Yes. The album title really came to us at the end of tracking. We tracked the record with Sam Basal. He plays in Ocean Grove. He produced the record for us. And I think it was on the last night of recording, we were just kind of talking about the songs and where we saw them track listed and all this other stuff. And he was just like, yeah, you've gone through a lot of toxic stuff. And then so I think that we were like, okay, there you go, that's the title. It kind of encapsulates the story that we're telling through the track listing. And so yeah, and so with the artwork, I just saw this girl with a sword and half broken off wings in my head from the very beginning of this record. When we were writing it, when we were talking about it, even before it had a name, even before half the songs were written, I would have a Pinterest board and I would just save photos of girls with broken wings or girls with swords, and I kind of saw it as almost the way that I visualized myself going through the things that I went through. So yeah, and I think that also being able to tell the story through the lens of a character and not as myself. I feel like yours truly has always been so this is about me, this is what I did. And even though the record's still like that, I wanted people to be able to visualize someone when they listen to the songs and look at the album artwork and imagine someone else going through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So, did you find it easier or harder writing through the perspective of a character this time around?
Well, I guess I said, these songs are about me. I
Yeah.
think I think it's more of just kind of the way that I think you can see yourself in different lights. And I think that when you come out of a situation, you can realize how powerful and resilient you are. So I guess it's not really me being someone else, but more just me realizing that yeah, my own resilience, and then allowing more just trying to make it a character for somebody else and for myself.
Okay, understood.
Yeah,
Understood.
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
sorry if I didn't explain that very well.
Oh, no, it's okay. I heard character and I was like, oh my goodness, this is, yeah, but it's all good. I
Yeah.
understand.
Okay, thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for the album?
This one was really different. We actually did a lot of co-writing for this record, which was
Hmm.
something that we've not really ever done before. But I felt like it was the right step for us in creating a new record. Instead of doing the same thing that we've done over and over and over again, I think that going to learn from other people was a really educational, and it was a really good experience. Um, Things have changed for us. I'm sure you guys have noticed we've had a lineup change. It's been some time. We've done a lot of touring. When you go in between things, a lineup change and the fact that you're on tour all the time, trying to sit down and trying to be consistent with your writing is really difficult. So this time around we would plan we're going to write this day, I'm going to write here, we're going to write with this person, obviously still doing things in our own time and doing coming up with ideas ourselves and stuff like that. But it was it was the fact that we were no longer in the position that yours truly was previously, and we couldn't act in the way that yours truly did previously. So it was time to go, okay, it's either we can sit around and we can wallow and we can be like, oh, well, it's not the way that we always do it, or we can take an opportunity with, all the growth that we've done to reach out to people and be like, hey, do you want to work with us? Like, do you want to try to do something with us? And I actually did a trip to LA in the beginning of last year. It would have been early January 23. And that was where like For My Name was written. That was where Desaturated was written. What else was written? I think something else was, but I'm just like mind blanking at the moment for some reason. Um, and then that was kind of the beginning of the record essentially from that point onwards. Um, yeah, so it's different. It's very different, but I think you can hear that in the songs, which I think is also exciting.
Yeah. Bringing in co-writers is something new. Was there any sort of nervousness bringing in new people into the writing process, or did it feel natural for you?
I think that trip that I was talking about was very nerve-wracking. Dan Braunstein, he works with bands like Dayseeker and Spirit Box, and they're both bands I really like. And so when I was over there and I got to work with him, that was an experience of being like, okay, I have to do well here. Like I need to sing good, I need to write good, like I need to really pull my socks up and like perform kind of thing. So there was an element of like really trying to prove to people that it was worth them giving me their time. Because obviously these people are really like, busy people and like they work, on some really, really good artists. So I think it was a lot of like me trying to prove to these people that like, yeah, like it was worth it. So I think that was a lot of my nervous feelings surrounding it. But besides that, like once you get comfortable with someone and once you like, things start rolling, like it's such a fun experience. I don't really know how to explain it because I don't really like do much else in my life to like explain it with something else or to compare it to something else. But um yeah, like it was just a really, really cool. It became more natural as it went on. Like if that's something that we do again, I think that I'll approach it in a different, in a more comfortable, way.
Yeah, and is the feeling kind of like you're being so vulnerable and you're like bonding with this person? You just met them, but you're bonding. Writing is so tight knit and like very open and vulnerable. Is that kind of the feeling?
Yeah, I think that like sometimes like you sit down with these people and you've just met them and then you're then telling them your life story and like all the things that you went through and being like, I want to write about this. And so like essentially like, they need to know like what you're talking about so they're able to assist you in what you're speaking about or be able to create like, the story of like help you create the story of what you're intending to tell. So that was interesting, but everyone was really lovely. I think maybe they're just used to it. I think artists are emotional people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. So what song off this album took longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
Longest to write, I would say for different reasons. I'm going to give you two. So there's a song on there called Desaturated that I spoke about before. That song started off as a session when I was in LA and I was writing with Sam Guyana, who I know he works with like Between You and Me and Bearings and so I think we wrote maybe like a verse and a chorus for that song and then it just like it existed like kind of thing for a while and then you go like a year later it then got finished like with Sam Basal when we were like tracking the record. So I always think that like I'm like even though like it wasn't like if you want to talk about songs that we tried to write like like at the same go was Let Go, had so many different like variations of that song where we almost like threw it in the bin about 4 times. And then I think, yeah. And then I think that there was one idea that we had with it that just like clicked. And it was like, and then the song was very quick to write after that. But the beginning process of it, of trying to get there in the first place was kind of difficult. What was the second question? Sorry?
Your personal favorite.
Let Go. Yeah, like I also think it's just because it was maybe like that, like to write. Like I remember, and Sam and I really like dwelled over that song, like while we were like working on it, because I think it was the first song that we had worked on together. I think that it was like, really like, it was really cool to both of us. So I think we just wanted to get it right. But yeah, once we got it, I remember we would just like stand there like in his studio and we would just like do this, and we were like, yeah, this is math. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think I really like that one for that reason.
All right,
Wonderful.
hell yeah. And what about Let Go? Had like you kept wanting to throw it away. What about it made you guys keep coming back and trying to hash that song out?
I think we just kept telling ourselves like, if we can't get this, we should quit.
Oh,
Whoa.
wow. High stakes. Okay.
Yeah, I know. It was more just like, we're musicians. Like, if we can't figure this like pop rock song out today, like we should quit.
Yeah.
Like it was like that, which I think it was very dramatic. But I think I realized that very quickly that together as a team we were dramatic.
Mm.
Um, but it worked, so it's good.
That's
I was
good.
gonna say, yeah, band is still here.
Yeah.
Yeah, still
um,
here, still doing it.
and I'd like to go back to the co-writing just for a second. When you're going into these sessions, are you coming in with an idea or like a lyric, a line, a chorus, or is it just like I'm just here and we're just going to see what happens?
I think it changes all the time. Like it really just depends on like I guess like what I have to show someone, like, sometimes like I'll have like a demo that I've already started or like I'll have like an idea of like a vibe or, yeah, like a top line or something like that, or like a concept of a lyric. Or sometimes, you just walk in, you're like, okay, let's start something from scratch. Like let's just sit and vibe for like the next 2 hours. And then when we're thinking of something like, when we kind of as you talk to something like, oh, I really like this and I really like that, and it's like, okay, like we should do something like this. And
Mhm.
then, which is, but like I love the learning process of seeing how somebody
Mm.
thinks, because I think it taught me a lot about how these very successful songwriters, yeah, like how they approach writing, which is a lot of things that maybe like in the past of me just sitting there and just like singing things over stuff. Like there's so many ways to, like there's no right way to create music. Um, and so yeah, I'm really excited to take that into the next chapter of my writing.
Oh yeah. All right.
Wonderful.
So how'd the track list for the album come about? Did you guys write the opener for the opener, close a bit closer, shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
Um, I think that when we finished Back to You, like we finished tracking it, we were like, this is the opening song. Like there was no like, and it was always going to be the opening song was going to be Back to You, and then we were going to close with Sinking. But then I think that like after everyone had sat with the record for a while, I think that a couple of people in our team came back and they were like, let's close with Call My Name. It's like the beat, like, it was the big song that you guys came out with. Like, it might be nice to close with it. So that wasn't my decision. But I do, now that I've sat with the record, I do like it. I think that and I think that, after also kind of like going through the track listing album, we wanted it to feel chaotic. We wanted it to feel like a toxic situation where like 1 second things are really good, 1 second things are really bad and like dark and like sad, and like 1 minute like you're feeling on top of the world, and then I think you can hear that in the songs where you've got like it goes from like love feels like to bloodshot eyes, and then like after that like it goes up again, and then you've got like desaturated, which is like a super upbeat song, and like it finishes with like Call My Name. So like I think that really like, and even if you hear it lyrically of like what I'm talking about, like there's this like it starts off with this like back to you, which is like, why are you leaving me? Like, are you coming back? Will you find me down there? Like when everything's dead and gone. And
Mm.
then Call My Name is like, it was never right from the start. So yeah, and so I think that like, yeah, like going like I'm like happy with it now, because I'm like I think it definitely like tells the story of like going through something really shitty and really toxic, kind of going through all the stages of grief, and then getting to the end and then realizing that you were never meant to be there from the beginning.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hell yeah. I'm glad you brought up Sinking because Bloom is on that track as the feature. Such a sick band. Curious how
Yeah.
that came to be.
I've been friends with Jono for a while now. We're both from Sydney.
Mhm.
We actually like even through like things like, out of band like work and stuff like that, like I've just run into Jono like multiple times in different aspects of life.
Mhm.
And then I think that we were just talking one day about the record, and then I like went and I like was listening to some of the demos, and I was like, I'm gonna ask Jono to be on the album. For
Yeah.
me, it's like I love having my friends do stuff with us. Like on the Arctic EP, we had Jake Wilson from Between You and Me, who's one of my
Mhm.
best friends.
Mhm.
And we have like, yeah, we have like a nice like group of friends here in Australia of all of us. And I think that we just like working on things together. And I think it's for me, I think Bloom is going to be a very successful band. I back Bloom all the way. I think that they are so talented, and I think Jono is a great frontman and a great vocalist. So for me, it was just like, I want you on my record. Do you want to do it? And he was like, sure. And I think originally he was going to be on Bloodshot Eyes, and then Sinking was actually the last song written for the album. And I was like, no, I think this one is the one.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
So would you be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you're creating this record?
My headspace. Oh, good question. A lot of different places. I The record we were meant to start the record much earlier than what we did, but like as we are talking before, like we had the lineup change. And I think that really halted um our continuing on. Like I think that, when like you lose essentially half of um, of your group and half of like the people that keep what you do alive, I
Mhm.
guess the other half of you sometimes look at each other and go, oh, do we keep doing this?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like, like, is it going to feel right? Is it going to feel the same? Like, maybe it's time to assess what we also want to do. And I think that that is something that me and Teddy, like, like it was sad for both of us. And we kind of just had to like go away and like really think about like where we were, what we were doing. Um and yeah, and whether it was something that we also felt like something we wanted to continue doing. I love yours truly. Teddy loves yours truly. Like we love being a part of it. It's something that Teddy and I started this band together. We are even with, our previous members, like Teddy and I were the only original members of yours truly. And so
Mhm.
I think that one day Teddy said to me, like, if you're still here, I'm still here. And I was like, well, like that's exactly how I feel like with you as well. And he was like, well, if we're still here together, like we're gonna be fine. Like we're gonna get through it. Let's do this record and just see what we create. So
Yeah.
going into the record, there was no like, it's going to be like this. My headspace is like this. It was already like, I was already 6 months late to really like focusing like I usually would, because I was going through, we were going through all of that together. And, we had so much touring that like we kind of just didn't even want to think about it. And also like, when things are so different, the idea of creating a whole new body of work is so daunting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think that like, yeah, my headspace in the beginning was really just putting it off and like pushing it away and trying not to think about it. But
Mhm.
then I kind of got to a point where I was like, okay, we're running out of time now. Like if we want to make a record, like we should have started a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe it's time. And then I think that starting to write the record wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. The song Sour is about like that feeling of being like, I have to do something that like I have no mental capacity to really take care of right now.
Mhm.
And everyone around me is telling me that I have to do it and that I have to do this and I have to do that. We have to go on this tour and like, we have to create music like this. And I just thought to myself, like, no, like, like we're gonna do this the way that we want to do it. And then I
Mhm.
think that after Sour was written, that song was done, it just then was just like, okay, we're gonna be all right. Like we're gonna
Yeah.
be able to go on. Call My Name was another really big thing, was that walking away from that session, having that song was like, okay, like this is going to be a huge song for us. Like this is everything that this band has always wanted to be, and it just took like a lot of shit times, like a lot of difficult stuff, and it took getting on a plane, going to the other side of the world, and then putting yourself in a really vulnerable situation. Like I think a lot of the time I felt very vulnerable and very not uncomfortable, but like you're definitely out of my comfort zone. Um, but I think that like towards knowing that we had songs like Sour and Call My Name and Let Go and California Sober and all that, like I was like, okay, now I feel like a high, like I'm happy now, like and I'm feeling confident and I'm feeling like we've got something here. My headspace changed very quickly and I was like excited.
Yeah.
So, so I think it was just realizing that me and Teddy were going to be okay. Me and Teddy were still here. Like we went through a lot of shit in those 2 years that we're probably never ever going to be able to talk about. Um, that like things that like we shouldn't be friends kind of thing. Like we shouldn't be like here together. But like it just shows that we have commitment to yours truly and commitment to each other as friends as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's my answer. The long answer.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And as much as it threw off the timeline or whatever, like not starting the record when you were necessarily supposed to, I think based on your answer, it was probably best for you because you needed that time to process it, not process it while writing a record, and being able to kind of come to the table having already mostly processed it, and kind of, it seems like you kind of let it out in Sour, and that was kind of like your okay, everything's gonna be okay now.
100%. Like exactly what you said, like not writing whilst we were going through it. A lot of people like to write whilst they're going through the situation, and I respect that, and that's something that I've always done in the past. But the thing that I think is different about this record compared to every other Yours Truly record in the past is that this record was written after the fact, whereas everything has always been written during. So I think the writing during is always like a finding, finding realization and kind of like, like venting and like, trying to find your power whilst you're writing and trying to take that back. Whereas I feel like Toxic is like, here's all the things that I learned.
Yeah.
So,
shows like that growth, that maturity kind of almost.
Yeah, it's showing that like I don't need to find my power through these songs because I've already found it. It's just that like I found it a couple months ago.
And now I'm letting you know.
Yeah, like so it's like I think you can hear in the songs it's like less about like like you can hear it in the beginning like Back to You where it's just like what's going on here, like I'm sad, like what's happening. But then I think that like like a song like Desaturated where it's just like it's like a bit of a diss track, like it's a bit just like like I don't really care about it anyway. And like it's so like that's not really something that you say like in the moment. Like in the moment you're like, oh, like I do care. But that's what I think I like about the record because it's very like I've always tried to stay true to myself with my lyrics and always write about my experiences. I've just written from a different side, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should do in the car with friends, in the dark with headphones on? Is workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
I will say this because this is what I did when I first listened to it completely full, like from like the beginning to end, was when I was flying back to Sydney after finishing the record. Putting my earphones on noise cancellation, like like sitting there on the plane looking out the window. I know that's a very like difficult thing to ask for someone. Go and get on a plane when the album comes out.
Flight.
But maybe like maybe just like get in the car or like something like that. And like I think that like that's how I listen to it. So if you want to do that as well, like go for like a walk or catch a train or a bus or just sit there and just like and listen, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Oh yeah.
Wonderful. So this one should be super, super quick. Off the top of your head, I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
3 words. I would say that it's visceral, fast, and attitude filled, attitudey. We'll say that. I don't know how to say it, but attitude.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. And then in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
I want them to feel like it no longer, it not only brings them a little bit closer to me, but it also maybe enlightens them a little bit with the feelings that they've had in the past. Um, I think that like a main thing with yours truly's music has always been like the feelings that you feel are, as unique as they are to you, they are universal. And sometimes it's a nice reminder when you listen to music that somebody has felt the same way as you.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So are you able to talk about any particularly challenging or standout moments that you went through during the creation of this album?
Um, here's one. I got sick during the record, and I
Oh
lost my
shit.
So the album was supposed to be finished. Like it got finished on the day that it was meant to get finished, but I lost 5 days of vocal tracking, and that was at the very end of the record. And I was in Melbourne, like I live in Sydney. So, I was there in an Airbnb, like I was paying for my time there. Like I was like, I have to get this album done by this date because this is the day that my flight is booked home, and that's the date that I no longer have anywhere to stay.
Mhm.
Um, so I got sick and it was really, really shit. Like I was on a whole bunch of antibiotics and all this other stuff. Like we tried tracking vocals like the first day, and then my voice just like it just sounded really weird. Like I remember Sam's looking at me and he was like, What's going on? Like, like I've tracked you before, like what's going on with your voice? And I'm like, I literally don't know. I don't know if it's just because like I haven't been singing or like and then the next day I woke up like super sick. And so yeah, I missed out on like 5 days after that, no vocal tracking. So then it was like we have 5 days left and we have 10 songs to track.
Oof.
So
Oh fuck.
you're doing 2 songs a day. And so it was just yeah, and then it was a challenge to get that done. And to get it done the way that I wanted it to be done. Like sometimes I do listen to it and I wish that I had more time to put more vocal layers on it, but I kind of just have to like be happy with it the way that it is and just be like, the universe did that for a reason, for me to sing on the days that I sung, for me to have the ideas that I had, let it go. And so otherwise I'll just think about all the things that I could change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 songs a day for 5 days. How long were those studio sessions looking? Because that doesn't strike me as an 8-hour day.
No, I think we were doing like 9 a.m. to midnight every single day.
Damn.
That's
Yeah.
terrible.
Mm.
Well, it's done.
It was an adventure, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I ate a lot of ice cream and we would have like ice cream breaks and and boost juice. I don't know if you guys have boost juice in America?
No, what is that?
It's like a juice store where like they make you like fresh juices or like smoothies and stuff like that. It's like a chain in Australia.
Okay.
Oh, it
And
sounds
I just
healthy, so
convinced
probably, yeah,
Yeah.
America doesn't know.
I convinced myself that if I had like a chocolate banana coconut smoothie every single day while I was checking my vocals, my voice was going to be good. So
Yeah.
that was what I did.
That's good.
Makes sense, yeah.
The safety blanket.
Mm.
Yeah.
And for this last question, replacing the entirety of yours truly in a horror movie, who's going to die first and who's going to survive until the end?
Well, we do have a new member of our band. His name's Henry.
Mhm.
I'm going to say, unfortunately, I think Teddy goes first.
Damn.
Just because,
he's not even
yeah.
here to defend himself.
I know, that's why I'm going to put him first because if he was here, he'd be like, nah, I'll win. So I'm like, nah, you're not here, so you go first. And then I reckon I would be second. And then I think Henry would last the longest because he's really strong and athletic.
All right. Sounds
Wonderful.
good.
Yeah.
So as I said, that's all the questions you have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Yeah, album Toxic is coming out on the 16th of August. We are playing Reading and Leeds in August, and we'll
Huge.
be in the States October, November with Anta Shikari and Yumi at 6.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you for now. It's been Mikaila from yours truly, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.